So one issue that we keep on getting inquiries about is around the requirement to appoint a data protection officer. Clients are quite confused and uncertain as to what they need to do here. Some people we found they've appointed a data protection officer and are now wondering whether they really need to. Other people are not appointing data protection officers and are now getting a little bit concerned about what if it's decided that you do need to do one. They don't want to be fined for not appointing someone. What we've been saying to clients is that there's a spectrum here. There are a few instances where it's very clear that you need to appoint a data protection officer. There are a few instances where you clearly don't, and it's that grey area in the middle which is obviously causing the concern, and that's what the queries keep coming on. And clients are taking a range of approaches to trying to deal with this. We don't really know what approach the UK authorities are going to take to this yet, how strict they're going to be about it. And one approach that quite a lot of clients are taking at the moment is they are appointing someone who is going to fulfil all the requirements of a data protection officer in accordance with GDPR, but they're not actually calling that person a data protection officer, calling them a data protection manager. Other titles are being used, and then what they've got in place is so they can show that they've taken this seriously, they've taken advice and carefully considered whether or not they need to appoint a data protection officer. They've taken the view that they do not, but in case they're wrong, in case the guidance comes out later or the case law is starting to show that the requirements to appoint are stricter than perhaps we're thinking, then at least they're in a position to show that they have in fact had somebody fulfilling that role, making sure that data subject rights are protected and making sure that the organisation has been taking GDPR seriously and doing what it should be doing. And the hope is that if it turns out that they did make the wrong decision as to whether to appoint, then at least all those facts should mitigate and make sure that the consequences for them of getting that decision wrong are not too serious if that's where it is. Some clients have been looking at it from a different point of view. What they've been thinking is, well, if we do appoint a data protection officer, then we have automatically complied with GDPR because we've made that appointment. And some clients are taking the view that they'd rather adjust their risk equation in that direction rather than taking the view that they don't need one when in fact there might be a bit of grey area there. And if your organisation is happy to do that, that's also obviously a really good approach to be taking, and that is one that I think is encouraged by the guidance. So where possible we do encourage companies to take that approach. However, that doesn't work for everyone, and the area where we're most seeing the concern about appointing a data protection officer is around the question of almost the employment status of that person. The concern, of course, arises from the stipulation in GDPR that people who are fulfilling a data protection officer role should not be subject to pressure or sanctions because of the way that they are advising the company. It's obviously important for them to be able to retain a degree of independence, and that does cause concern for some clients because they are worried that they might seem to be unduly pressurising a data protection officer. And I think people are probably particularly concerned about it in what's still the early days of GDPR, because there has been a huge demand on any professionals who have a good data protection experience. So I think quite a few clients are concerned that they haven't always been able to make the appointment that they would ideally want to make, and so they have been concerned about rushing in to make a data protection officer appointment when they'd rather wait around, look at the market a bit more carefully and make sure they get exactly the right person to fit into that role.